Good evening and welcome to Norwalk City School District Board of Education Special Session, August 26, 2026. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burkett? Here. Mrs. Crawford?
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Norris?
Here.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
First up is the 536 fund.
Okay, so this is a new federal fund that we have, so I need approval for the 536 fund. It's a Title I non-competitive supplemental school improvement federal grant. Dan can probably tell you a little bit more about it. I believe it's to be used at Main Street
Yes,
for special education classroom
yes,
for $100,000.
yes.
Awesome.
It's a targeted support grant to but to target a group of students, specifically our students with disabilities, that will need some extra help. You know, it's based on our state testing,
Great.
so we.
It's kind of a good but a bad thing. It's good that we're
Yeah.
getting the money, but we're getting it because our students need extra help. It wasn't like it was a grant that we went out and asked for.
Right.
Okay.
And we hope that it's only gonna be for a short time, but we'll take advantage of it for sure this year.
Great. And you said only Main Street, or is it just
Yes.
that's where the?
That was the building that.
The grade or
The targeted support, yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Yeah, I mean, good to have the extra support when we need it though.
So it's an appropriation of $100,000 and the estimated resources of $100,000, so I do need to add that to our budgetary documents.
Great. Motion to approve the fund to be added?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Do you know how specifically, I'm sorry,
No, I'm sorry.
they're gonna be like, is there gonna be extra personnel or extra programming?
Yes, that's later in the agenda.
Okay.
Approval to have we call it a literacy aid, literacy
Cool.
classroom aid that will provide those services.
She'll be on for approval later.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Next up, financial forecast.
All right, well, so I gave you a nice big copy of the forecast. I tried to blow it up big so you could see it. I have to say, this is probably the most uncertain forecast I feel like I've ever done. I feel really solid on the expense side of it, but the revenues, not so much. And then anything after this year is just really an educated guess. I'm not sure. I needed the extra time to get ready because this is extremely early. You know, normally we do it October, November. So, but with the budget change, it went to August and February, the 5-year forecast, which is now not even a 5-year forecast, it's a 4-year forecast. I don't know why they dropped that extra year off. If they're gonna do that, they should have took like another 2 years off, because really, it's hard to know. So a couple really important points about it. It's general fund only, so no federal title money like the fund that you just approved, that doesn't show up in here. No special education grants like our 516 IDA. There's no cafeteria money, no permanent improvement money. Student activities, the athletics, all of that, none of that is in there. It's only our general fund, which is what we use for operating. And we do have a lot of expenses that come out of those other funds. If something were to happen, those expenses would always come back to the general fund. Another thing to remember when you look back is the ESSER funds that we had in the previous forecast. That was the big jump that you see in fiscal 26, why salaries went up so much there, because we were using a lot of that to support our staff, and we had extra staff there. Of course, that was all expended at the end of 25. It's gone. So we have many unknowns with our August forecast. We've got a new governor and a new state budget that are going to be coming in. We don't know what that is. There's very different philosophies of education out there on each side, what's going to happen to public education. So going forward, it's really just kind of a crystal ball, I'd say. And even though it's based on the general fund, if there's changes at the federal level, that could impact it. The latest is the E-rate program. We've heard that they're looking to, at the federal level, eliminate E-rate. I think Jen's probably nervous about that one too. It covers our technology infrastructure. So if that goes away, that's money that we don't have to do that. E-rate comes, everyone pays it on their phone bill. It's called Universal Service, USLC, Universal Service in Libraries, and it only goes to schools and libraries, and it helps for technology infrastructure. So it's not even really like federal money, it's just money that's collected from all of us on our phone bill. So that would be bad if it was lost. Of course, too, if we had federal funding that we lost, that would impact our school lunches, our Medicaid, quite a few things. Our school resource officer, we're paying him partially out of a federal grant. Our handicap preschool programs come out of a grant. That would all come back to the general fund. So even though it goes out all those years, we really can't look too much past our first year. Healthcare costs, they're the largest part of the benefit line. Our family medical insurance, it's just under $27,000. So we did change that plan for our new hires, but the new one's still expensive. I mean, it's still a good plan for our people. It's $23,000 a year. So that's a huge expense for the district. STRS is talking about increasing what the board has to pay from 14% to 18%. That would be a big impact. The Fair School Funding Plan, it's still in place, but they didn't update the costs. So it's using fiscal 22 costs, but it did update the property valuation and the personal income amounts to fiscal 24. So for us, that means the state last year funded 52.9% of what the base cost is on the Fair School Funding Plan. And this year it's only 48%. And it's not just us. The state's funding less of public education for all districts. At the state level, the funding dropped from 47% in 1999 down to 32% for the upcoming school year. So you see there's been a shift over the years to push funding down at the state level, which of course is part of the reason why property taxes have gone up, because that's the only other option that districts have, is to ask for a tax levy. There's also all of the property tax changes that are impacting the forecast. I'm still not sure how they all work together. Talked to our county auditor, Roland Ketch, again this morning, but he hasn't received a whole lot of guidance from the state either about how things are going to work going forward. So it's really just, that's why I'm really uncertain on the revenue part for this year. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. If you want to look at your spreadsheet there, it's set up kind of like your basic income statement. Your revenues are at top, expenses are below, and then you come to the line 6.010, excess revenues. This is kind of like your profit and loss, but we don't talk about that with kids because we don't profit or lose on either. It's just where we're at if we're over or under. So the property taxes, there's 3 lines that make up property taxes: the general property tax real estate, the tangible personal property real estate, and then the state reimbursement for property tax credits. It makes up around 11 million in revenue, so it's really important to us. With the reappraisal, we had a 26% valuation increase. That showed over the years because it splits 800,000 a year starting in 25. House Bill 186 reduced that amount by 582,170 this fiscal year. So you'll see I removed that out of the property tax line and I put it in the state reimbursement for property tax, because fortunately this year they're going to reimburse districts for that. This is the inflation cap credit. This you would have saw in your second half tax bill. This is one I don't know what's going to happen to it in the future, right? Because in January we're coming off the 20 mil floor, and this credit only applies if you're at the 20 mil floor. So districts that aren't at the 20 mil floor, like Sandusky, their taxpayers didn't receive this. It was only, and in Huron County, everyone was at the floor, so we all received it, but Erie County is a little bit different, they didn't. So when we come off the floor January 1st, because of another bill, I'm not sure what will happen with this, if it will still be given to people as the inflation cap credit. My understanding is it's not going to be reimbursed, but I don't even know if it'll still be out there or if taxpayers will see their tax bill go back up for what the amount was, which it really wasn't a huge amount for anyone, but still, I just don't know. Also, inside millage, it's only going to apply up to the rate of inflation going forward. We didn't have as big of a increase in valuation as some areas did, where they were talking 40–50% valuation increases. Ours was 26. But now they're gonna change it, so inside millage, which is our 4.9 mils of the 10 mils, is only going to be, it's gonna be capped at whatever the rate, well, they call it the GDP deflator, but it's really a fancy name for inflation, over 3 years. So there's not gonna be any new revenue there either. There is still new construction, but of course, since the city has tax abated 75% for 15 years of new construction, we're also not gonna see any new construction revenue, which would increase our tax amount. Hopefully, outside the school boundaries, we'll see some new construction. And then you'll notice the highlight in lines 29 and 30 for the property tax, that's the emergency levy. So it is going to expire. So we have to show that money coming off, and then it comes down here at the bottom where it says property tax renewal or replacement. It can't be renewed again as an emergency levy. It could only go one time as a 5-year fixed sum, or it could go as a continuing expense operating levy. I'm not sure yet what the best way is gonna be for us, because I don't know how it's going to, revenue-wise, we don't know yet what's gonna happen, because that millage is gonna go into going towards the floor. So if that happens, it may not be worth renewing, because there may not really be any money there. That's to be determined, hopefully, soon. So I'm not really sure, but we do have to show it coming off, and then at the bottom is hopefully coming back. Tangible personal property tax, that's the third part of the property taxes. So we've seen small increases in this. There was no inflation cap credit on this, and valuation for tangible personal property hasn't gone up very much. This is pipelines, electric transmission things, railroads, all of that. It didn't go up, so they didn't see a major reduction. And then the state share of property taxes, we used to call this the property tax allocation, and then the state actually specifically changed the wording of what we have to call it, because they want to be sure that everybody knows that the state is reimbursing you for those property tax credits. So we changed it. This was always your rollback in your homestead. Homestead is your 65 and over income eligible. It did change. There's a new homestead exemption, and my understanding is it's gonna be the first half tax bill for tax year 26, payable 27, which would be what will come out in February. It should double the homestead exemption for those that are receiving it, but the state did an appropriation, so if there's not enough money, they will only pay whatever they have appropriated towards it. This was because the state ended the year so well, they had so much additional revenue that they did it for a few things. They put some money in their rainy day fund, and they did the homestead exemption, which was really a good thing. And they're reimbursing all of the taxing entities for it. The other change they had was the rollback, which was the 10% and the 2.5. They're switching that over. They're getting rid of the 10% for properties that aren't owner occupied. And it's gonna go to 15.38% over 4 years. So by fiscal 29, that will change also, and it's still reimbursed, so that's important. Any questions as I go? I don't wanna just.
You're okay so far for me.
Okay, the next one is the income tax, school district income tax. We talked about this last board meeting. It does bounce around a lot. It's not a very stable source, although it's another way of diversifying your income. It's unfortunate because it completely goes on people. You know, there's no, at least with the property tax, the businesses are paying that too. Even though they're not paying as much as they used to, the businesses are still paying some of that. Whereas your income tax is strictly on people. And remember, last year was less than the prior year. We're hoping that changes and it comes back up this year, but I'm only forecasting a very small increase because I just have my doubts about that one. So the next one is our state funding. It's our largest category of revenue. Even though the state is funding less of our base costs, it's still our largest category of revenue, 17.9 million. And there's two parts to it. There's the regular funding and then there's restricted funding. you remember I was so excited about the Fair School Funding Plan when it came out. It was a methodology. They looked at base costs, what it actually takes to educate a student. Unfortunately, they did not update the costs. They're still at 22. They did update the valuation. This means that it wasn't fully funded, so it's really still just a number. Over the last 6 years, this was our final phase-in. Over the last 6 years, Norwalk was underfunded by $7,338,256 because the state didn't believe they had enough money to fund it for everyone. So they just phased it in, right? In some districts, if you were more of a wealthy district, you only got the minimum, which was the 10%. This is our first full year of implementation, but we're still not completely funded. The other thing they did with the budget bill is, and this is the first year of it, second year of the budget, but the first year they did this, they restricted more of our funding. We now have to report everything that the state restricts: our gifted, our ELL, which is our English language learners, our career tech, disadvantaged pupil impact, economic, and student wellness. We have to separate all of that revenue out, and then I have to show the exact expenses against it. Before I was able to show all of our expenses, like all of our student wellness money, I put into one category. And it was, of course, way more than what the state funded us for. Well, now I can only show what the state funds us for in one category, and then I have to keep the second category and charge it off, the remaining part off to there, which is another reason it was difficult to get the forecast done, because this change didn't happen. We couldn't do it in our software until July 1st. So we were waiting to get this done, and then I had to get all our new accounts updated. And most of these are teachers, like career tech. We use both for teachers and for curriculum, but like I had to switch over my career tech teachers to their new budget accounts with their new salaries for the year. And anyhow, it was a lot of work. The CEP program that when in the beginning we received the extra $1.4 million, that's working its way out. I'm looking for my notes on that one, what our difference was. Yeah, I think it's down farther. The final part of the state funding is the casino tax and catastrophic cost reimbursement. Casino tax is nice because we actually do receive it, unlike the lottery, which the state just keeps and then they call it state funding and give it back to us. So there's no extra lottery money. They kind of did the same thing when the gambling money came out. It was supposed to go to districts to be used for athletics and extracurriculars, and that also didn't happen. But when they did the casino tax, they actually wrote it directly into the Constitution, how it would be given to schools. So that's why I receive it. Of course, it's only about $56 a student, so it's not like it's very much. So with the changes in the state funding and the reductions in state funding this year, we're down around $650,000 from last year between the two. Our state share of the base cost to educate a student is $3,905. Our local capacity, what they say locally we should fund of it, is $4,220. So you can see the shift there, that they say more locally than they do at the state, which if you remember is what the DeRolf was all about, that there's an over-reliance on property taxes, and there's still an over-reliance on property taxes because that's the only other thing. Just as a reminder, the state's giving us $3,905. Vouchers, on the other hand, are $6,168 if you're K-8, and $8,408 if you're 9-12. The last category on our revenue side is all other revenue. So this is everything that just doesn't quite fit into the other thing. Interest income, student fees, we do still charge a few student fees if they lose things. Building rental, the larger item here is our Medicaid reimbursement, and you'll remember that we had 2 settlements for Medicaid in fiscal 26, so I'm hoping we at least have one so that we're not too far off in those numbers. Under the bottom part, the all other financing, normally this is just the advances in and out for the grants, the $22,774. That you'll see that if you look on fiscal 25 as a financing where the advance out and then the money's coming back in. The 57.5, we're supposed to be getting a Bureau of Workmen's Comp refund, but I haven't quite seen it yet. So that's my estimate there of it coming through. And because it was paid in the previous year, it's considered a reduction of our prior year's expenditure, and it goes in that special category. So that pretty much finishes off our revenues. You can see we're down from last year, $659,104, mostly from the state funding. Because the property tax right now is just a shift. I don't think it's, I think the decrease is gonna show up next year that isn't being reimbursed. So then we move down to expenditures, personal services. So this is the salaries of all of our general fund employees. Of course, it's the largest expense we have on our forecast because that's what schools are. They're people. Can't have schools without people. You'll see it's been reduced. That was all of the not replacing staff through attrition. Of course, there were salary increases for all employees. So it's not as much as, it wasn't the $1 million, because you're not gonna see the whole $1 million in there. And then there were different things that happened. Like I was saying, we changed from doing a transportation with a purchase service with a contract to hiring our own van driver and aide. So that reduced our expenses in the 400 purchase service and moved it over to salaries and benefits. We also, in this line, there's payment for employees that don't take the district insurance, because this is a win-win, right? If you have insurance through your spouse, we will pay you a stipend not to take the insurance. And it's a pretty healthy one, because our insurance is, as I said, like $28,000. We'd much rather pay you a couple $1,000s, and if you can get your insurance somewhere else. Substitute costs, unemployment costs, our salaries for our coaches, and advisors, all of those come out of the general fund. Our supplementals are all general fund paid. Next is employee benefits. This is your pension, SERS, STRS, medical, dental, vision, life insurance, Medicare, workman's comp. Our medical insurance went up 5%. We did at least implement the new premium savings option plan. So hopefully we'll see that going forward start to make a difference. Next is purchase services. This is, the big ones here are our special ed students that go to certain places like PEP, Willow Creek, the detention center, MH classrooms that are run by the ESC. We also have to pay for college credit, the post-secondary enrollment, that runs us around $270,000 a year. And other things that are hard to control are utilities, natural gas, the water, the electric, trash removal, bus repairs, the internet costs. Part of the reason is the decrease in the van, so that was, it was close to $300,000 we were paying to transport a couple students for a year. So that was a huge win-win. Good job, Dan, on getting that van. Next line is supplies and materials. These are your textbooks, workbooks, bus fuel. This is gonna be worrisome going forward. I mean, diesel's like $5.36 at the moment, so that's kind of scary. We do a fuel tax credit where my accounts payable, she fills out forms so that we're able to be reimbursed for the federal tax on fuel, which of course is huge, so that's very helpful. In the supply line, we also did a new reading and a new math curriculum over the past couple years. The final line is our capital outlay. So we've done different things over the years. Going forward, I'm gonna try and push pretty much everything off to the permanent improvement fund and not have any capital expenses come out of the general fund. Some things maybe, the language of our permanent improvement is somewhat restrictive, but I don't know, I feel like we should read it a little bit more broadly. And then our last category is other objects. So these are things that we really have absolutely no control over. The county auditor, county treasurer fees, what they charge us when they collect our taxes and disperse them for us. It also, the state of Ohio charges us to collect income taxes, our liability insurance, the costs for doing our annual audit, all come out of that line. So there's not too much discretion there. So then we get down here to our bottom line, which is 6.01. This is revenue over or under. It kind of breaks it all down. Are we spending more than we're taking in? And yes, we're still spending more than we're taking in. Also going forward, I expect that to continue unless there's major changes to the property tax reform. I see us being pretty much in the red for the next couple years. So the state, well, I have to have this forecast filed by the 31st. And then the state looks at it. When they look at it, they're not looking at that line 6.01. What they look at is your cash balance. And this year it's the 10.010 because we do have a reservation of a fund balance, that was from long ago, the $642,000. So they look at 10.010, and for the first 2 years, if that number is negative, you're automatically put into fiscal oversight, and then you're into fiscal watch. You have to do, the state basically comes over and starts to oversee all of your fiscal operations, and tells you what you're going to do to get out of it. But we do have some red there on line 10.01, but for the state at fiscal 29 and 30, it's 12.010 is the line they look at to make sure that you still have cash, because they assume that your levies are going to renew, or if you have a new levy on there. So they look at that. So we're not yet gonna get that letter from the state asking what we're gonna do. But we do need to continue on with trying to not replace people, you know, as they retire. And look at our spending, try to do everything we can to try to keep our spending down, although much of it isn't discretionary, right? There isn't, right? And so pretty much that's it. That is the forecast for this time, and I apologize, it's very much up in the air. There's just so many unknowns to it, more than there normally is, and especially doing it in August instead of October, November. We haven't even had a chance. The final tax settlement came in on Monday. You know, I haven't even had a chance to really work through the numbers for that tax. I mean, it's only half year, but still. So with that, questions, discussion, comments, concerns?
Now, you do a great job, Joyce, with what information you have. You're very thorough, and I know that we all appreciate it very much. I knew that, you know, going into it, obviously, we tried really hard to cut. We set a limit, our number that we try to hit, and cut that number. And I knew it wasn't gonna reflect exactly, because with lowering, we still have things increasing. We have, you know, contract increases and things. I guess I'm a little surprised, but I do understand by how you explained it, there's some movement of where salaries lie, so that has part of it. I am a little surprised to only see 300,000 in that top
Mhm.
3.10, you know, line.
Yes.
I was surprised to see it only at 1/3 of that number, but then you know, like Jeremy and I were kind of pointing out that by the time you get to 5.5, you're at 600,000. But still, that just shows that we do have to be really, really strategic about, like you said, retiring and watching to obviously not hurt our students, but continue to try to get out of the red as much as we can. Because even then, by the time you get to 6.010 or 010, we are higher.
Mhm.
So,
Well, and
Right.
if you look at 2030, in terms of what the projection is, that, you know, that number is more than double, right?
and then
In terms
that,
of what the deficit is.
right, and
Yeah.
then obviously is with the money coming in, or, you know, with her not being able to show,
Right.
not even with the expense, more just the income change with the state level and the property tax, but I mean, if we even stayed 2027, 2028, you know, we didn't really make an impact to that number very much. And so I feel like that's definitely scary, and we definitely don't wanna get to 10.010 at the end of that, so.
Right, and it needs to be a wake-up call. I mean, when I do the forecast, I can like say, okay, well, you know, it's gonna be bad, so we're gonna knock down the salary number because we're gonna lay off 50 people. But I can't do that. I have to go with what we have today
Right,
and what we're gonna continue. But that doesn't, it has to look like this, because then that gives the board the information to make the decisions of what we're gonna do. I mean, I could say, it'll be better, and then we have to, you know, cut 50 people, but if we don't cut 50 people, then we're back in the red. So that's why it's so important to make sure it is what we have right now and where we expect to be. I mean, I factor in retirements, but we're also hiring more people as we go. I mean, Monday was, you know, the day with all the new staff up there, and there were a lot of people up there.
right. And I understand that we also have requirements, right? So we even talk about where we were identified and we're getting $100,000 and we're gonna have to, and we want to support our students, right? But at the same time, they gave us $100,000, and if we have to continue to support that, do we continue to hire these people who are doing something for our kids, but they stop funding it, which I think
Yeah.
historically happens, right?
It does,
So they
and it's-
identify, you know, the
Board of
state
Public
identifies
Education.
what we need to do, and we have to have support, if it's people, if it's whatever we have to do to support our students, but then doesn't give us the funding to do the support, right? It enforces the support, which we wanna do, but that doesn't actually help us fund the support. And then wants to come in and then, you know,
It's like
so.
a state war on public education where we're gonna mandate that you do this, but we're gonna mandate that you fail at the same time. That's,
You know, and if you look at the, you know, the picture of our new staff, you know, many of those were hires, you know, that we needed for compliance. You know,
Right,
because
absolutely.
you didn't, you know, you didn't foresee that, like, okay, the numbers in our, you know, areas that we needed to add people were not being in compliance.
Right.
And that
So-
is our next segment with personnel, so.
Yes.
So half of those
Segue.
individuals, like if you see the picture, I actually submitted the new staff picture from Monday's session to the two media outlets here in town. Half of that group is the educational aides that I'm asking you to approve that are legally bound by a kid who needs that service, potentially a 1-1 for those. So with our classified and certified, like the one group, we were healthy because we had hired early. We got the pick of the litter, I said, on the first day. We got who we wanted. That was early. Now, it's just because of needs and a couple resignations, that's why we have this healthy educational assistant hires here. And we've begun, you know, day one with kids. So that's what happened. So when you look at that, and Joyce had said, like, it doesn't look like we trimmed because you saw the numbers who we didn't replace. Veteran teachers that were top of the, you know, pay scale, M45 with many years, we didn't replace many of those. So that was significant in itself. But we have the mix of the SLPs here, speech language. We have psychologists. We have a business teacher, which is basically filling an opening that we lacked at Norwalk High School that you say are critical spots. Because we can do this again, and I would say at the end of this year, we'll be able to likely, tied to enrollment, do something similar.
Right.
There's a handful of people that will be retiring that have either formally stated that to me or have not, but have talked informally about it. We probably can do that at the elementary level tied to our enrollment, where you could say we used to be 9 per grade level, some were 8, some 7, some small classes could be at 6. And we can do that. So like those adjustments are in place. It's tough when you're federally mandated and required by law to service a kid and you can't say, I can't go to Rativa Stillman as pupil service director and say, we're not filling that. The paper said you will fill that. And no one's asking like how that's compensated, how you actually will achieve that end.
Right.
So.
Right, and I don't, it's not easy on you, it's not easy on you, it's definitely not easy on us, and I don't want anyone to think that, you know, the loudest spoken are how we mismanage money. Well, I just wish that more people would get involved and see what the difference is for a public school district, the mandations, but then the mandations are not funded. So we're gonna continue to run into this, and it's all over the place, it's not even just our staff, you know, I saw some complaints about busing today, about busing to St. Paul. Well, you know, we are mandated, as it said in the, you know, complaint, we're mandated to bus St. Paul students, and that's fine. But again, we are paying for that, you know, our staff are paying for that in our buses and figuring it out. And, you know, we're doing the best we can, but I feel like more people need to really take a look at it. It's not as simple as balancing your at-home checkbook where you can just say, I'm gonna cut Netflix and I'm gonna cut this and I'm gonna cut that, you know, when the state's telling you, no, you have to have all these things, and we want to support our students, but we have to be able to afford to. And I also know as we get down this line, one of the things that we can't necessarily forecast is one of the reasons we were so fortunate and happy about this new build isn't because it's a new building, it's because we're able to bring all of our team together in one building. We can utilize staff more effectively and efficiently, and you know, they're not trying to go to all these different schools in each grade, and we maybe don't have to have as many support staff or teachers to teach the same class because they can't get from one school to the other in the same day, right? So we can't even forecast that in there. We know as a board that that's going to be a savings when it happens, but we also don't necessarily have the grace to wait that long.
Right, we need to get there soon, because there will be
So-
so many efficiencies in the new building, and it will be so much better. It's just, we have to get there first.
We have to get
And
this-
you know, you mentioned with the shared teachers, you know, not only the logistics of, you know, having them in the building one day and another building the next, but in the time to travel between buildings, you lose instructional time. You
Right.
know, there's, days that you have 4 or 5 teachers that are traveling between buildings, those are class periods, that you're missing out due to that.
And with all our travelers, could equate to a day on every day with all of our traveling employees.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I know that when we're even saying
Utilities
that
will
it's
not be
hard.
savings, we spoke on that. Utilities will not be
Yeah,
a
that's
savings.
disappointing.
For the community that thinks that will not be a savings. We
Yeah.
recognize that. It'll be air conditioning, it'll be those that will be very expensive. But the staffing, we actually had a meeting the other day with Garmin Miller, and we talked how many resources are duplicated as well. That we have buildings and grade levels. Yeah, we're different grade levels each building, but you think about a library, how many books are duplicated because I'm whatever my reading level is. We have some books that are the same at this place or that place. Those are gonna be eliminated. We'll trim that down and say, do you have 50,000 books in your district versus no, you get down to, it can be 15,000 in an elementary library and be solid for what the typical 12 to 15 books on hand per kid. So some of those things will exist.
And there will be other things, even the upkeep of each building. We know that even though utilities aren't one of the things, but there's the upkeep of each building. There's even just the landscaping of each building, the driveways, the things. I think we had a good idea of, it's not just staffing or teachers, we're gonna save. But we're in this year to do that, and that is scary to know that that's where we're heading. And I do think we have to continue, and like you said, hopefully by the end of this year even, and we continue to make changes. I know we have amazing teachers. I saw at open house, we had last year they were in teaching this grade, and now they're teaching this grade, and they're just happy to be here and happy to be part of the district, and they did not complain or say anything, they're happy. So I appreciate their flexibility, but we also, I think, we have to continue to really try to work with what we have. And people see these are big numbers, but it also costs a lot to take care of how many students that we have. So I do appreciate how hard you worked on this, and I know it is not easy, Joyce.
And just a reminder, we haven't had new operating money since 2014. That's a long time ago. That was the last. We've stayed off the ballot. Yes, we had the bond, but we've stayed off the ballot. We haven't had to ask for new levies. Well, we could use new levies, but we haven't asked for new levies. So that's not somewhere we want to go.
Right, we're trying, and we were on the ballot, but 64, whatever percentage, 64 million or whatever it was, state funded, or we didn't ask for the whole, this project to be on our community.
Right.
Which is why we did all the
Sure.
things we did, and I know there's others that aren't, they're bigger projects that are 100% on the back of the community, so pretty happy about that still. But I did find it interesting. Sorry. So I didn't understand so I'm gonna ask you to repeat it because I could be wrong. So the state voucher program is paying higher on a state level. So I understand we have a different income coming from different sources, but on a state level,
Mhm.
are you saying that the voucher program is paying a higher amount per student to private than they're paying to the public school? I guess I did not realize that.
Mhm.
Interesting.
So we're on public education.
So what is the difference between?
So our state share of the base cost is $3,905 this year.
Student?
K-8 is $6,166, and 9-12 is $8,408. Or whatever the tuition is if it's less, but most private schools increase their tuition to those amounts. So, and that's just their voucher money. I talk about the auxiliary money, and they also have money that flows through us to them, to the Norwalk Catholic, or any
Whoever.
private school.
Yeah, whoever. Right.
And they have administrative cost reimbursement that goes directly to them. They also, private schools also equitable services. So every federal grant, there's an equitable services portion. And it's not just here, it's wherever our students go depending on, so it could be St. Joe's in Monroeville, and it changes too. The one in the Saurierville school, different places like that is also money going to private schools as federal money that flows through the public school. So
So-
there's quite a bit of money going to private schools.
When we look at our forecast, and this may be a really stupid question, so I apologize, because again, this is complex, right? We're not looking at, this is not simple. When we talk about that, it comes into us, and then we're funding that. Is it in our forecast as income up here
No.
and not expense? So this,
No,
so
This
we're
is
not
only general
necessarily
fund.
seeing it. This is more,
Yes,
this is
yes.
actually our funding and,
Mhm.
and what is staying with us as well.
right.
But when they make decisions at a state level, are they looking at just this number? Are they looking at the entirety number of what we get, no matter where it's funded back out?
No, because that's not considered our money. We're just in charge of dispersing it for them. But at the state level, there's only one pot of money for there's only one pot of money for education.
Correct, okay.
And that funds all education, public, private, charter schools, Board of DDs, state school for the deaf and blind, all education comes out of one pot.
And the one, I think, large difference between is, they don't have the mandates that we do.
No, there's no accountability, there's no mandate, there's no, and we're required to provide free appropriate public education. We can't charge.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of even iffy if we charge for school supplies, really, because it's free appropriate public education.
Got it.
I'll say one thing I'm encouraged by, obviously we got a lot of work to do, so certainly don't wanna.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get out,
Yeah. But
sorry.
one thing I am
Appreciate
encouraged
your
by
positivity.
is the budget deficit in terms of expenditure, or I guess I should say reduction in expenditures from 27 to 28. I think, again, that in a sense demonstrates we are being fiscally responsible with what we have, right? And so we're not continuing in deficit spending really within an unmanaged fashion. I think, year over year, we're looking at this and trying to reduce that. So I think that is encouraging, although acknowledge there's still work to do. I will ask about the cash balance though, and the drastic reduction we're seeing year over year in that. Is there a particular reason that you would point to for that, or is that just?
It's whatever the
Unknowns.
deficit is. It reduces your cash balance by that amount each year.
Okay, so it's a 1-for-1. Okay.
Right. It's just like your checking account's running in the red, so you have to take money out of your savings account. Your savings account keeps getting lower by what you're putting in your checking account.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric, for bringing me out of the negative. I will say that, it does, there is a lot of work, and we see it. We see what you guys have done with your, retire, not filling the positions. I know we had a very large meeting where we just had every leader at the school district say what they're cutting and what they're not filling and how hard they're working, not just in each of their departments. And like Eric, what you said, it does show.
Yeah.
Even if it's not taking us out of that very red number, it's not getting significantly worse. And the only time it does is when
Those
the
other
income
years,
changes from what support we're getting. Like you said, we can't stop supporting our students, and nor do we want to at all, even if it's mandated or not. So I think that we just need to continue to try to do our best to voice that we want to support our students the best way we can. We don't ever want to cut a program. We don't want to cut a class. We want to support, and I definitely don't want to drop enrollment to drop staff. I want kids who come here. I want more staff. I want more kids, because I think we do an excellent job, which is why we're here.
Well, our enrollment is decreasing just in general because I think there's just less.
In the area.
And I think that's across the board, right? That's not just,
Yeah,
that's
that's universal.
everywhere.
Outside of your Delaware, Franklin County, your Medina, there's only a handful. Most are dipping. There's obviously a lot more opportunities. There's homeschooling. There's other online programs where kids are not attending. But you look at the birth rates, there's many factors in play. But
Right.
Norwalk is not atypical to most in the state of Ohio. So that's where you say, yeah, we don't like necessarily lower enrollment, but the attrition, that's where you can match it. Because
Right.
if we don't have that happening, then you're saying, what do we do in a 3 years out with an unknown forecast? Then there's nothing you can do except start looking at programs. And that's when you start having families question like, is some other district, is some other place offering this that you're not offering? And that's when I may, vote with my feet and go elsewhere, because I want the best for my kid. So we've always said we offer the most opportunities, we want it, we always grow, we always do more. But after that enrollment and attrition piece and that kind of factor runs its course, what do you do next? You know, and I reference, you probably, we were in Columbus at the time, like Southwestern, one of the largest districts at the time in Columbus area, when they had to close down, didn't have athletics, and it is just a sad sight to see. You drive by and grass is high in their athletic fields and nothing's happening. Kids are dispersing to other districts, and it's just like, you don't want to see like that doom and gloom, because we have so many things happening. Momentum is strong for Norwalk City School District with all the things happening that are right in front of our very eyes. But there are tough questions definitely to confront.
And it's not just us. I mean, you hear this from every public school around
Absolutely.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We
great.
just unfortunately don't have the cash balance that some of the other districts do to carry them through a little bit farther to try to deal with things. You know, we've been dwindling away at our cash balance, and
not putting a levy on, like you said, no new money since what, 2014? So, you know, we've been trying to be, every board before us, everybody here, being fiscally responsible as much as we can.
And Joyce, not that we're gonna go into area school districts, but she could reference, because we were at a meeting, superintendent and treasurers, basically in multi-county area. And you can speak to what's the property taxes gonna look like, because some districts are heavier reliance on that than Norwalk is. So you can look like, what does that look like of unknowns? Western Reserve, Monroeville, everyone has like some variable numbers there of how things could look for them. So a lot of different things in play, even though we're in the same similar boat.
Thanks, Joyce.
well, thank you for the discussion.
Sorry, thanks, Joyce.
And make sure you go home and read your notes, because your notes are a little different than what I went over. There's
Yeah.
different detail to it and all that, so. I also gave you a little packet there of stuff, kind of about the shift, with the property tax. Oh, maybe I forgot to hand them out. Sorry. You know, the shift in property tax, why people are mad about property taxes being high is because it has shifted from, being kind of a half and half between business and, residential and agricultural. You know, the business part has been reduced over the years, and it's pushed it over to residents, and, you know, they're seeing a greater burden of the property tax on them. And it's just like, you know, reducing expenses, it's harder, you know, you can't do anything if you're a residential person to really do something about your property taxes, but if you're a business, you have other ways of handling and adjusting for it than you do as a resident. But there's been a lot of changes, and that also references the different changes over the years. The shifts, like the cat tax and getting rid of the TPP, where it's pushed it more over to the residential and agricultural.
So small rural districts, yeah, farmers are, it is a massive bill if you're a farmer. And in area districts where that's the
Yeah, and
pull.
farmland's different. They have what's called the CAUV, current agricultural use valuation. So when they value farmland, because farmland, as we know, is getting so expensive, it looks at the different inputs for farming, you know, cost of fertilizer, what kind of land it is, the soil, there's like all these different, who would have knew, right? All these different soil types, and that's how they figure out the property taxes on farmland. There's an acre exemption for it, but the rest of that is figured on the formula for farming. It's kind of a fascinating thing. Actually, I was at South Central, I should know that there was all kinds of different soils, because we actually had a soils team, and that's what they did, is they would dig holes and look at the soil and.
With your FFA?
Yes,
In state competitions, yes.
yeah, they went, gosh, all over the country with their soils team. And don't call it dirt,
Would never.
it's soil.
Thanks, Joyce. So I'm just making a motion to approve your forecast,
All
correct?
right,
Is that, I mean, I just wanna make sure I'm wording that correctly. We're approving the, okay,
Yes.
so is there a motion to approve 3.0 financial forecast?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any other discussion? I didn't mean to, I just wanted to make sure I was naming that correctly. Good? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes,
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
all right, and now personnel.
As mentioned, we have a few educational assistants that I'm asking you to hire this evening. We had a good first day of students today, so this might be my most difficult task. If you look at these names, pronouncing them is gonna be a challenge. So I think Mr. Baum and Mrs. Gerber are just gonna be smiling, because I always say these names. I usually don't mention all the certified and classified hires, so here we go. Michaela Polta, educational assistant. Caitlin Finkston, We have Carly Wirtz, Amanda Paleotheodorus, and Maria White. So they are educational assistants. Some have experience with us and some are brand new to the field. So you'll see based on steps, some are 0 and some are at step 2, recognizing the work that they have done previously in their career. We have one transportation assistant in Nautica Alcantara. 4.2, we have a change of classification. Christine Scheid has been with us for some time as a cook. She has been elevated to a cafeteria manager position. So Mr. Kraft and Mrs. Scheid are very excited about that move. So she is going to be starting that here effective here with kids here in a couple days ago. Resignation, we have 2 educational assistants in Alyssa McKenzie and Alicia Kaufman. And then we have, and Mr. Ritzenthaler might have seen this, so we had our opening day with all staff on Monday and Vicki Penrose was there to hand me a letter. So she is going to be teaching through the entirety of this year, but she's going to be done at the end in June 4th of 2027. So the reason she thought it was like the appropriate to bring it to me, literally before I spoke and welcomed the staff back, she had the letter to give to me because she was hired at a special board meeting on opening day 32 years ago. So she was like, I was literally special board meeting, opening day I was hired, and she's been at Norwalk City School District as a 6th grade ELA teacher for 32 years. So complete this coming year, she'll be at 33 total.
Aw.
So I said, because everything's been so constant for you, we made sure we moved you around a little bit because you've been same grade level, same subject. So we made sure she went middle school and then to Main Street, and then you have to find, final years at League. So she's seen half our buildings in our district, but she has been same content, same grade. And like I said, she's proud of that. So good person, and we have her through year 33, and we'll recognize her likely in either May or June of 2027. So interesting story of how that began. So it seemed appropriate to do it at a special meeting tonight.
Fair.
4.5 is certified and classified substitutes that I'm asking for you to hire. 4.6, this is with our band trip and then the bus chaperones that are necessary for that. Most are booster and or parents of our students. They will get fingerprinted and checked to be a chaperone at that level. 4.7 is essentially a donation from Norwalk Music Boosters. They covered Brian Stittak as he helped with band camp. So he's our orchestra director. He helped at band camp. 4.8, we have home instruction for the 26-27 school year. Megan Hazelwood, Shelley Fannin, Robin Welsh, and Angela Boozer. And lastly, there, 4.9, we have 2 driver's ed teachers that we want to approve for this coming year, and Jeremy Bliss and Chris Jackson. And that is all I have.
Is there a motion to approve item 4.1 through 4.9 under personnel?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Burkett? Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Sorry.
Mrs. Allison Crawford. Sorry. That's what you get for
Yes.
a special meeting.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Right, number 5, donation.
All right, so we have some remarkable news to share with this. So I know both media outlets here in Norwalk had covered, as of August 11th, the board approved to move forward with the purchase of 8 acres behind Norwalk High School, between that, adjacent to our soccer field and next to Christie Lane. The day after, so August 12th, received a call that the same anonymous donor who paid nearly $400,000 for us to secure land for the PK8 site is now covering the entirety, $200,000. So Norwalk City School District does not have to use that money from its permanent improvement, which was the account those monies were going to be paid for. So I have special permission that would be made public tonight. So here again, this is incredible. We have an anonymous donor that now has given nearly $600,000 to this district. So money can be used for our kids and other purposes rather than on a land purchase. So that call came in the next day. It was not, we had worked with this person prior with the PK8 site. That was not the case at all. The board made the tough decision because we were spending permanent improvement money to say that is well worth it. And I think it was justified by board members in their seats on August 11th. But to think the next day to get a call where anonymous donor says, I'm willing to cover the entirety, $200,000. So today, just finished, actually 10 minutes before arriving here at the board meeting, I received the surveying and all the data information from Mr. Ramsey. So that will be submitted to the seller. Once he gives his approval and we do go to the tax map and finalize those pieces, we'll hopefully be able to finalize and close here in middle of September.
That's just amazing.
I'd like to say, you know, this is not just 8 acres of land, this is 8 acres of opportunity. And this person, whoever it is, has a visionary gift for our students by, you know, for their future. And I don't know, this land acquisition that we're gonna get here is, it's gonna provide flexibility for this district, maybe not now, but in the future. So I think this board's extremely grateful for that gift that, you know, to get that over there across the street and this guy comes to us, a person or people, whoever they are, again, comes to us, it's another 200,000 and says, yeah, we'll pick that up across the way here. It just shows you what kind of community we're living in. I am so proud of this community and these people who are doing this. So anybody else want to?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
It's just,
no,
It's phenomenal. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just very generous and so grateful for our children to be able to thrive because of the donations that this individual or whoever it is, thank you. There's words can't express how grateful we are.
The long-term impact that these donations are gonna have on our children, our community is wild to think about.
I don't think any of us expected to get a message from Mr. Cooley with this news. I mean, I think we did, this was a decision we discussed as a board for a very long time. First, grateful to the seller themselves for letting us have the opportunity to purchase it first, right? He could probably make a lot more money or, you know, to a developer or something, but wanted to offer it to us first as it's adjacent and we don't have a lot of options now that we're one campus. But to go from that as a board, knowing like we're talking about this deficit and trying to be fiscally responsible and trying to make good decisions, but also wanting to set up future boards for having decisions that were hard for us, but also having opportunities for our students that we might not have, to go from, like you said, making a hard decision and saying this is the right thing for our future, it's the right thing for Norwalk, it's the right thing for us to support, to get a call the next day saying, hey, I saw your board meeting, because he's obviously not just a donor communicator, but he's watching our board meeting, cares about the district so much to say, hey, I got this too. We did not expect it. We could not be more thankful. I was more than emotionally moved and cannot thank him enough. And I can tell you that it is truly anonymous. I have no idea who it is. And I think they deserve recognition and credit, but respect them even more because they don't want it. So thank you so much. And thank you for being so invested in the future of Norwalk's kids.
And even more shocking is I spoke with the anonymous donor's attorney this afternoon, and he said, you have my number now, call me if your district is considering any other things similar to this.
wow.
When you think nearly 600,000 committed already and saying the anonymous donor's attorney said, you have my number, contact me if there's something in the future. So we're not even put a period to this potentially. This could be the ... to some other things as well.
What, you know, what a vote of confidence that is, you know, to know that there are people out there who believe in what we're doing here. And so much so that they're willing to open up their checkbook and put their money where their mouth is. And I think, you know, as has been said, like that investment will pay dividends for generations to come, right? Students are going to be able to experience things both across the street and someday even over here that they wouldn't otherwise been able to experience it. So I think, you know, I can't say enough how like I'm proud I am to be a resident of Norwalk City, because I think those are the things. And every time I feel like this community has outdone itself, they just raise the bar and raise the bar and raise the bar.
Yeah.
And so I think, again, like, I don't think words can describe the gratitude that we all feel here, but it also is not going to be able to describe, I think, the future that's going to create for our students. What, you know, no words, it is incredible.
And I wish that there, he doesn't, and they don't want recognition, but I believe that no one will even understand that one person or one group of people, whoever this person is, made such a huge impact. The kids, won't understand that land across the street. We gotta keep money into the building instead. Now right over here, whatever we end up doing with that, it may be now, maybe in the future, that they won't know that that was because somebody else cared enough to donate, such a significant amount of money and wanted to just do it quietly. I don't know, it's just amazing. And then we have the Reagan community donation, privately, yeah, but I mean, it just, I don't know, sometimes you get a little bogged down, right, with hearing some of the negative, but you can't let it because this is such an amazing community and this just shows it all day long. So, thank you. I hope you're watching tonight because we cannot thank you enough.
So would somebody like to make a motion?
Oh, yeah, I got, sorry. Wow, okay.
Because we didn't have it actually written down.
Yeah,
'cause-
listen, if I don't have words in the paper, I will get lost and talk. So this is my problem. So is there a motion to approve and accept this donation?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
It was too quick. Was it Mr. Norris or Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett,
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Crawford,
Yes,
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Itzenthaler.
Yes.
all right, thank you again, OFCC. I don't have any words to read the thing, sorry.
I didn't know what to put. This is our LFI MOU and our DD phase submission. DD, I was blanking on what DD stands for.
Development.
Design development. I knew that. I thought the second part was design. It was design development. Okay. The phase submission was pretty thick. That is attached to the agenda. The LFI MOU, I did print one out for you. I know it's kind of small. But basically with each phase, there's different things that have to be done. And we do something called value engineering, where we look at things that aren't as expensive, maybe like, do we really need this? Can we do with that? Can we change this? Can we like paint that with something instead of all these different things? And that's part of it, but there's also the LFI MOU part, which is moving some of what I called our LFO money, our outside money, into the LFI inside money to use towards this. And partially, we were able to use our LFO, we used VE against it. It was $6.5 million was the budget estimate over, but it's not actually over that because the value engineering brought down some of those expenses. So they're not really, I didn't really like the way they did it. I would have rather seen it less and then go against that, but anyhow. So the value engineering brought down some of that. We also had early site package savings, which was going across the street of like $1.4 million. That we saved against their estimate, and then we moved some of the interest out of the LFO money to go towards this because LFI, our local share interest has to be saved in case there's an overage at the end of the project, but we can use our LFO interest money, so we were able to push that against this also. And the bus lane that we had planned on doing that we're not doing anymore over to the middle school, so we did have to move some of the money over, and what the OFCC wants to see is that we've done that, so I showed them where I had moved the money over, and then they just need the board to approve a resolution with that we have the total amount needed to do the project.
And again, this is all just a paper exercise.
Right,
Nothing is,
we're not even there yet.
like, it's a little bit
Yeah.
of shell game
Got it.
right now because the schematic design development, those things, nothing has taken place. Ralph heard when we talked to the entire staff, the two things, and you've all heard, that are coming up that are still the unknowns is within the next month, we'll know how much do we need to put in for ground stabilization. We have a $500,000 set aside for that. Do we need to put in more than that? Because that's the stuff of like, yes, when you start testing more than your football field apart and all the in between that, you have to spend a lot more money. And if you had to put, a sock in another, $1 million, $500,000, you're putting a lot of money into a project that no one sees anything because you're not going vertical yet. So that's kind of the great unknown. And I said the other one will be mid-October, and that's where the bulk of the bids come in, and we'll know what are those bids looking like for the bulk of the construction of the project. So we have the next month here with the guys working right now, peeling off topsoil currently. We'll know what's that status And hopefully that comes in good, and then hopefully bids in mid-October. And then we feel like, unlike Joyce's forecast, we'll feel like we have a little more handle on the project, because right now, we're just covering, here are the numbers, on paper we shift. What we can guarantee to the community is those things that we have additionally in that bond issue with Trazo, metal, like those things are happening in the building. And obviously, we've talked, we're willing to flex a central office, not that critical. We want to make sure the school is done right. Central office, in the big scheme of things, is not that critical. The bus garage, yes, we want that to happen, and we've kind of jockeyed back and forth of, are the monies committed for that or not? Because right now, we can do some of the bus garage. Central office, like I said, Dan, Joyce, and I, we will not complain at all. Put us on a desk, put us in a carrel in a back closet, and we can still get work done because we're with kids. So that is not a great concern, nor would the community be concerned about that piece. But we still have the bus garage that's, I guess, on our side right now, because, you know, we forfeited essentially the middle school path, which wasn't necessary, and then central office, so.
Is there a motion to approve the OFCC LFI MOU and OFCC phase submissions?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Witzenthal?
Before I make a motion to adjourn, I know we have a few people out here, so I know we don't, it's a special meeting, so we don't have public participation, but I wanted to make sure no one was wanting to speak. Okay,
I'll say something.
all
You
right.
notice how slow the traffic goes out here? I mean, there's a lot more traffic, but it's like, and everybody's gazing over to that big mound of dirt. But it's exciting.
I'll admit, I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I come down here,
East of town,
slowing it down.
this is the way I go, right by the school here. I gotta see what's going on.
I had a video of a bald eagle flying in on our site over there, so I thought that was pretty cool.
That was
That's
neat
pretty
to
cool.
see that, yeah.
I think the Canadian geese moved, Jeremy.
Yeah, they're
They're on Old State, the property there just behind the executive and Old State. I saw in that field area, that was their area, so maybe they've made the move because they don't like all that activity.
Yeah.
I suggest that Ralph take a bid with your chickens.
Get room.
You got room.
That and the deer that are back there, the family that
A lot
are
of deer,
grazing
they
on your
watch our
field.
practice every night.
Yeah, literally,
Yeah,
I've
they
never
sit
seen
there and
anything
watch
like
practice.
that.
They're
Went to-
beautiful.
It's like
went
as
to-
soon as all the kids come out to the field, the deer come out of the
They come
woods,
out.
and they're just like watching all the kids out there. It's
Yeah, I
better
don't-
than the groundhog.
Almost tamed, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. They were all watching the kids play last night. I've never seen anything like that. So anyway.
All in all, with busing today, so yes, we have with Norwalk Catholic, the time shifted, so that was communicated to our transportation department, but it's difficult because there are so many pieces and parts of where people are
Right.
throughout town. So that was the Norwalk Catholic side of things. There were a handful of unhappy parents because of the timing and because they were delivered late to school. We had a handful of our Norwalk City School District kids that were delivered late. A lot of them were tied to those on the bus trip, because you think about like where I live on the west side of town, like you are virtually, you have Washington,
Yeah,
you have
absolutely.
you have West Main.
Yeah, all the construction.
So they've allowed on Washington for our buses to go through. You and I can't drive through that, but they're letting the buses go through. But there are some parts of, yeah, our town is getting fixed up with some of the things that need to be, but the timing is tough because now we're picking up bus traffic through those critical zones and kids have to get there. So no excuses by any means, because we know that's going to be for several months, but it will take a few days before we can answer all the calls like, here's where it is, because we're not going to have what happened to even just a handful of kids, because today went very well. Today went very well. I think it was 5:11. The last bus was came in, and I heard the call to Corey, and it was a happy driver. So it was like, final one, all kids have been returned. So that's called a good day. And they had corn on the cob in the middle part of their day. So we'll call that a strong start.
Do you know what the shift was on their start time?
It was by 15 minutes,
Okay.
15,
and
20 minutes. So
Were they aligned with our start time before for
Well,
most of our elementary?
and they're talking, like I said, this is Martin Linder, president, speaking to Corey and Tim. He offered the line of getting on a high school bus. So if Martin Linder is willing to talk with his parents and say, that's fine, that will ensure it. But the difference is elementary kids could be delivered an hour, hour and a half early to their school. I would not love that myself, but if you're saying like that is the best solution and Martin Linder says, I'm fine, I'll talk to because it's not a lot. We're talking,
Yeah,
it's not a lot,
I
it's a
understand.
handful of people. But those handful of people need to be handled correctly and their kids need to be arriving on time. So that was the part that was offered. So I know that communication's happening. I'm not a part of it because Martin Linder, whoever, they're going direct with Corey and Tim
Right.
to make that happen. But some of it's like, you need to give me 2-3 days because even the best perfect route still runs slowly because it's your first run
Oh, it's
and they
first
might be new stops.
So I think that I know we have some little bit of changes with our elementary, but most of them are what, I think it's 8:40 start. What's our latest elementary start? Is 8:30? 8:45. I knew it was close. I got too many kids everywhere.
Plaza, Main
So
Streets.
they have like, they're now they were 8:30, they're 8:15 or 8:40. So that is significant if they're on the same bus and we're trying to get, I mean, that's a pretty significant time difference. Okay.
Can I add one thing too? Kudos to Aaron Osborne and the city of Norwalk. They completed our Safe Routes to School project. If you notice on Norwood and Christie, the new crossing lights, they've, the last couple weeks, they've really, done an amazing job to get that done.
That's
You know,
awesome.
so,
That's right.
it's been, I think, maybe 4 years in the making, that project is now completed.
Awesome.
Because those projects, they take a few years from the time that you get that grant until, your ticket comes up to get it done. So, kudos to Aaron and the city for that. Those will be very important.
That looks great.
It's perfectly
Yes.
graded, and I don't know what was referenced in the paper, but it's like the death steps that existed in that resident's lawn, and now he's got perfectly graded, and he's watering all the time.
I
so
saw
it's
it.
like-
Nice.
It looks really
Good
nice.
setup.
Yeah, it looks really
Really
nice. It
nice.
is a lot safer. That's great.
My last thing is Boys and Girls Club. I mentioned to you in communication that is funded through the 26-27 academic year and funded through 27 summer program. So we're not putting a dollar toward that. That's being funded. So that is great because, and like I said, I'm not saying what it was 27, 28. Like if you get a year at a time,
We'll take it.
that's solid.
Yep.
And we have a director who's fully invested, Chris Snyder. Good things are happening because she's trying to include a lot more things other than, I don't want just a repeat of school. Kids have done that all day. So if you're at sit down, do work, and then like, no kid they need breaks. So they love the fact that Brad Kraft is teaching them how to cook. Mark Parrish, wow.
No.
Old reference. Ooh, Brian Stittak. Wow. Wow. Brian Stittak, Will Kish, our music directors are coming over there and doing music lessons. Those are fun. Those are the activities that make you talk to your friends and say, hey, you should come to Boys and Girls Club. And we feed the kids too, so that's not all bad.
And
So
it's moving back to Plaza this year,
Okay.
after last year being at the middle school. So the majority of the kids are Maplehurst Plaza, age, so it just made sense to do it.
I'll say one more thing and then I'll be quiet, because I've done a lot of saying today. But I understand that the corn on the cob was all donated to the day.
correct.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Isn't
didn't
that
know
something?
that.
Yeah. And you think of how many, you get all the husking of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We all jumped in at different times
Did we?
yesterday, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to
Yeah.
get full ears, and then Brad said, split them in half. They're like elementary kids, so like you're giving like half, and I'm like, no, I want to give the kids a full ear. Like no, so everyone we would husk,
Yes.
not shuck.
I'm sorry.
We have some people call it shucking. It's husking if you're a true farm kid. So we had to break it in half. So we broke it in half. So
But there was
that's-
enough for
that's
whole
pretty
ones for everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
It'd be funny
Aw,
too, like
I
at
had no
Maplehurst to see
idea.
the kids when they throw their ear of corn away, to see the kids with no front teeth. Here a little bit there.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you whoever for that donation. That's awesome.
So the good and bad of what Secretary Kennedy is doing, but like scratch cooking, like we have to recognize from the school and feeding our kids, like I said, that's the best use of money, is the fact of feeding our kids. I would argue that all day. So I know my sister, who's a medical doctor, there's some things she doesn't like about the secretary. I can tell from the school end of what that looks like and what he's promoting from a school lunch side. And like I said, all people have their good and bad. And like I said, from the school side, I'm liking what he's pushing because it's making sense for our kids to do that versus having kids and like, here's your plastic, high microwave, put heat on and eat it from a plastic. Like, it's good to some of the things that we're doing now. And so, yeah, Brad Kraft's excited and his staff is too.
I haven't gotten to speak to my kids after their first day yet, because I came right here from work, but if there was corn on the cob today, I'm gonna hear about it, because that is my daughter's favorite, and she has braces right now, so she is probably not very happy about the timing of the corn on the cob, and I'll hear about it later, but she's probably super excited, so that's awesome, thank you for that. Any other board discussion? We might be moving September meeting possibly.
Can check your schedules. Joyce and I were talking about that today, just
Okay.
because the number of items that would make more sense if we'd have additional weeks. So right now, the board meeting is scheduled, it's in the district calendar
8th.
for September 8th. Proposing to do 1 week after that, September 15th. So
I'm fine with that.
somewhat dependent, so we could roll the 8th, but knowing that, knowing the closing and those things, I think that additional week would probably make sense. I know you asked me, am I recommending that? At the time I didn't, but after talking to Joyce today, I think if that works for you. And I don't wanna be changing it because we put things on the calendar. I like to stick with what our calendar, like that stays what it is, but it might make sense here.
I'll let us know, I'm
I'm in
flexible.
DC that week, but
Oh,
Week after?
Joyce,
I think that's fine. I have to have the permanent appropriations in, but I think I just have to have them in by the end of September. So we're good. For some reason, I was thinking the 15th, but
Yeah,
I
actually
think we're
Sunday.
good. Yeah,
to go the 15th, or you're saying,
to go later if he wants, yeah. I think I'm mixing it up with the tax budget that's due on January 15th. I think as long as I'm in by September.
just let us know.
Just let us know.
No, I think
what- yeah.
we're good, we're good. I'm sure we are.
so 4 of you would be good on the 15th, but then we could have all 5 of you potentially on the
Next week.
22.
Whatever you need.
second, yeah.
Okay. And I don't know myself on that date.
Yeah,
I
just
didn't look up that
know that
date.
we're flexible,
Okay.
that's
I'll
fine.
check with the boss when I
It's
get home.
preferably not a Wednesday, but other than that, I'm good. All right,
The wall did go up for the hallway, starting to go up on the Reagan out there, so.
Oh,
I'll take a look.
Oh.
Started brick wall out there.
Yeah, so Jeremy and I are on the Reagan committee, and so they were moving all the weights in that corner for that connecting the tunnel. Some have referenced it as the mud room, but connecting the 2 buildings, so that is in preparation, and when the steel and those things get in there, they said within a week's time, you'll see the build, so like that part, you'll see the monstrosity in your face pretty quickly, after delivery. Because Janata Hearn, like, that is what they do, and they're efficient, know exactly how it works, so everyone moves.
They don't mess around.
any other discussion? Okay, motion to adjourn,
So move.
second,
Second.
roll call please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent Fowler?
Yes.
Alrighty.